Yes, friends, now our system is basically ready. Of course, it's not completely ready. There are some shortcomings. We'll fix them gradually. Now, in this section, we'll be writing Auth Microservice. So, whatever we need on the Auth Microservice side, we'll write them down. It's not something huge or complicated here. We'll proceed logically. What is the main duty of the Auth Microservice? It allows people to register and log in. That's it. So, does it contain any extra parameters beyond this? Only in the next step, when someone registers, their record also needs to be in the user microservice. Think of it like this. When you want to sign up for a social media platform like Instagram, Instagram's core values are as follows. It's about letting you into the application with the minimum number of parameters it can get from you. So, just your username, password, and if it wants, things like email and phone number. It wants to get just a few simple things like this and sign you up. In other words, it signs you up with anything that can verify your identity. After you get inside, you edit the other information related to your identity. Think of it this way. If the app collects a lot of information about you right at the start, you won't really trust that app. And you'll get a bit irritated because of the hassle. That's why, in these kinds of apps, users are usually let in with the minimum number of parameters. Let them in, then give the user a chance to fill in their other information later. That's the general logic. So, the Auth microservice can use basic parameters to verify the user's existence. This could be an email or a phone number. And for the user, it would be a password. That's it. But some parameters absolutely have to be sent to the user microservice. So, the Auth microservice should do this. I've registered the user. It should also say, create this user's profile, user microservice. We're going to set this up, guys. But first, we need to code the Auth microservice. Now, to be able to code the Auth microservice, what we need is PostgreSQL, guys. When I was explaining its structure, I said it like this. The Auth microservice would communicate with PostgreSQL, and the user microservice would communicate with MongoDB. That's why, for the Auth microservice to communicate, you need PostgreSQL. You need to set this up. Of course, it's not really ideal to run this locally. So, use Docker for this process. I assume all developers have Docker by now. There are very few people who don't use Docker or have nothing to do with it. What you need to install here is Docker Desktop, folks. Let me quickly talk about this a bit and then we'll move on. Guys, Docker Desktop. You just download and install the one that's suitable for you. It's really simple anyway. You do an installation that doesn't require anything extra. Here, I'll just show you what to do. It'll go something like this. If you're using a laptop or a desktop computer, virtualization is usually turned off on those. So, on the screen we call BIOS, let's say it's called BIOS Resolution Technology AL. You'll see it in the visuals. Guys, you really need to look for it here. They're really tiny, too. Guys, there's something called virtualization. It's referred to as visualization technology. You need to go into your computer's BIOS screen and enable this first. Because what Docker and Docker Sub do is virtualize your computer and create a virtual machine. So, before you install this, you absolutely need to do this step. By the way, if you're using a Mac, you don't need to do this. On some Windows computers, it's enabled by default, while on others, it's disabled. You need to enter the BIOS and enable it from there. If you do a little research, you can easily find out how to do this. Also, download and install Docker and Docker Sub on your computer, guys. Now, let's move on to the parts we need. I've prepared a rhythm for you. We're going to fill this in step by step. We'll fill this in as needed. Now you need to install a PostgreSQL. Here, I've entered the basic parameters. I've added a PostgreSQL image, my own repo, guys. If you just hit play on this rhythm here, it'll create it for you, guys. First, it downloads the relevant images. After downloading, it'll make it ready to run, guys. PostgreSQL, yes, now it's up and running. It first downloaded the file over here. And now, as you can see in the container section, PostgreSQL has appeared here, guys. You need to do this. You have to open pgadmin on your computer. Yes, guys, now pgadmin is open. If pgadmin isn't installed for you, you need to install it, again from the internet. You can just search for pgadmin download and download it. Download whichever version you need. That's enough, guys. Let's go to our pgadmin. Let me open it like this. Here's what you need to pay attention to. Guys, our application is installed as if it's on a regular computer. So, it's virtualization. Yes, it's virtualization, but notice that I exported it on port 5432. This. By the way, you need to pay attention to this. If you already have PostgreSQL installed on your computer and it's running on port 5432, the thing I sent you won't work, guys. Just so you know. So, you might already have it. If you already have it, there's no need to do this. I mean, if you have PostgreSQL installed and you can access pgadmin, you really don't need to do something like this. There's no need. I'm just providing this for those who don't have it. Alright, let's go to pgadmin. Where are we connecting? There probably won't be anything here for you. When you set it up, here's what you need to do. Right-click here and select Register Server. This is the name of the server. I'll call this one Docker Postgre. Now, I go to the connection section. In the connection section, it asks for the host name. You write localhost here. The port is 5432. For the password section, like I said, if you installed it, you already know your password. My password here is root. Guys, you come here, type root, and save it. And it shows up here. Guys, look, the PostgreSQL connection has appeared here. Alright, great. So, what do we do now? Look, right here, I'm going to create a database called auth-DB to use. So, I come to the database section here. Here, I'm creating a database called auth-DB. Guys, that's not a problem. It probably won't do this for you. It's doing this for me for a different reason. Yes, now I'm in auth-DB. Let me show you like this. auth-DB has appeared here. Guys, alright, great. So, that was our first step anyway. I mean, to be able to write the Auth Microservice, we need a database and a database connection to be established. That's why we included PostgreSQL here. And we've set up our auth-DB as well. Now, we're going to move on to coding this. Guys, we need to code this. Here, we'll need to write the layers, packages, and the classes inside those packages that are required in a microservice. Of course, first of all, in order to connect to PostgreSQL and perform operations related to PostgreSQL, you need some parameters. The first of these is the database driver you'll use to connect to the database, namely the PostgreSQL driver. The other one, guys, is Spring Boot's data JPA. What do you need to do with these two? You need to add them to the Auth Microservice. Look, now you need to add this plugin to the Auth Microservice. Guys, normally we said that we would add all dependencies here. And that's correct, this is the general one. We'll put all the dependencies that we want to be present everywhere here. However, look, the Auth Microservice will use PostgreSQL, while the user microservice will use MongoDB. So, in such a case, if we add those dependencies here, I mean, if you add both the PostgreSQL and MongoDB bindings here, then it would force all microservices to require both PostgreSQL and MongoDB. That's why you need to implement the PostgreSQL dependency specifically for the Auth Microservice and the MongoDB dependency specifically for the user microservice. So, pay attention to these things. You add the general ones here, and the others, the specific ones, you add to their own initial Gradle files. Guys, now, in terms of what we need to add specifically for the microservice, guys, first, the PostgreSQL driver, and second, Spring Data JPA. Guys, we need to add these two, but you don't just go and add them here directly. In other words, you don't go to the memory repository, grab them from there, and add them here. You come to the dependency section for SQL. Guys, so what are we going to add here? We're going to add PostgreSQL. Look, I'm adding it like this. I say PostgreSQL. Now, I need the PostgreSQL version here. That's why I'm going to the memory repository. Here, I say PostgreSQL. Let's take a look at the PostgreSQL driver. What version is there right now? The 3rd of July, 42. That's the one. Guys, I'm taking this, placing it down here like this. Let's close it. Now what's the version of this? The 3rd of July, 42. Guys, that's the version. Alright, and here as well. I will add a comma here and then proceed to say PostgreSQL, specifically mentioning it in this manner, like this, so you can clearly see it. Now, observe closely, because org, in this context, refers to this entire organizational group or family. And this is now the family. Nice. Then, $, curly braces. Here I say versions.postgre. That's exactly how I added it. Guys, this is my personal driver. My PostgreSQL driver. Is it done? It's not done, so what are we going to add? Another thing, guys, we're going to add Spring Boot Data JPA, Spring Boot. I'm adding data.jpa. So how do we do that, guys? You know the one above, right? You can copy exactly the same thing below, then let's put a comma at the end because they continue with commas. Now, these parts, Supreme, in the box, ISPIN, these stadiums are also the same, but instead of Supreme Box Starter Web, it's written as Supreme Box Starter Datapar, guys. But this is how we add it. So now, PostgreSQL and Supreme Box Data.jpa have been added here. What else do we need? I also use Lombok for convenience. Guys, I'm using the Lombok project. It's a matter of preference. If anyone wants to use it, they can. But if you say we absolutely have to use report in database operations, then instead of Spring Data, you'll need to use GDBS and work through that. Guys. So, here I'm saying Lombok. Apparently, the Lombok version is the 18th of January, 34. Guys. Let's add that as well. 1.18.34. That's the version. Let's add our Lombok here too. Guys. Let me write it here. Lombok, same as before. org.project Lombok project Lombok. Yes. Since I want to use it this way, I added it here as well. Alright guys, now that I've defined the necessary dependencies here, what can I do next? Of course, I can add this to the first step of the auto service in my project. Alright guys, let's add it. What are we going to say here? You want dependencies here. First of all, look, there's nothing missing, nothing at all. You're not adding anything, but when dependencies are needed, you have to add them here. Now I'm saying implementation lips.niva springfoodata.jpg. That's the first one. Implementation again lips. This time I say host.resql. Beautiful. Then I say implementation lips.lombo. And friends, there is an annotation process for working with Lombo. You also need to add the annotation process, so you have to write it this way. Please pay attention to these parts. If you copy and paste the names you write here as much as possible, you'll avoid making mistakes. So now, our system is active in this state, friends. That is, the things we needed have been added here. Now that we've added the dependencies for this, what are we going to do next? Now, we can write all the layers one by one and activate this.